Dong today. I want to do a little bit of housekeeping before I pass on the mic to Susan. I just want to let you know that this is one of our Community Unity Immunity lectures, and it's free to join for a live webinar. If you missed the live webinar, it goes into our library and is available for subscription in the library. But here you can see what's coming up. Always on the community library, if you go to the resources on healthy seminars, you can see what's happening. And during the week is usually when we have our free live webinars. And because there's no CEUs for these, they can be kind of scheduled just like a week away. So do check regularly because something could show up that's not there when you look on a certain day. The stuff on the weekends usually are CEU approved stuff, and that stuff's usually 2 to 3 months in advance because it takes time to get those approvals. You can see that today's March 3rd. Are you ready for Master Dong's Magic Points? And then this on the weekend of March 13th and 14th, this is a CEU weekend with Susan Johnson, and she's going to be talking about the best in Master Dong's Magic Points. So that's what's happening on that weekend. And then if you just scroll down, I just want to let you know that our topic today is going to be on, are you ready for Master Dong's Magic Points? And she's going to talk, Susan's going to talk about the what, why, and how. What is so unique about the Dong system, why it will revolutionize your practice forever, as you can see, and how she can teach you this very profound yet easy to learn effective approach. So she'll be teaching us that. I want to let you know that I think it's, you've heard of the basketball, it's March Madness. Well, I think March is Susan Johnson month because we got her doing this free Community Unity lecture today for the live webinar people here. And then if you scroll down, she's part of the ICCM conference that's online, and we have 2 bundles, and one of the bundles is on neck and shoulder disorders, and Susan recorded an incredible lecture on that using the Master Dong Point, so it's available there as well. And as I mentioned, she has her weekend class coming up. Oh, I should let you know that that live webinar discounted rate ends on Friday, March 5th, so take advantage of that. And then we have the Integrated Fertility Symposium that we're launching in May 2021. And Susan is also going to be doing a lecture on Master Dong related to fertility. So we have a lot of stuff available that's related to Susan Johnson. So this really is a special Master Dong month with Susan Johnson. I do want to let you know that she also has this incredible textbook. When you see something this thick and this heavy, this is years and a lot of effort has gone into this. And I encourage you to get your copy. For those here in the live webinar, check the chat, and at the end, we will share with you a generous discount that Susan is offering you to purchase her textbook. I do want to let you know that we're presenting this in March of 2021. The book is purchased through Susan Johnson, and so I don't know if you're watching this and it's 5 years from now, whether that coupon still exists, but I know as of March 2021 today, it exists. So do check in with Susan. It's in the chat room for those who are attending the live webinar. And at the end of the webinar, we'll put up the coupon code on the screen. So listen to the end and you'll get to get a copy of that as well. All right, let me just give a disclaimer here. And then I want to just do a brief introduction to Susan, and then she's going to take it away. Please post your questions. Susan wants this to be interactive, so post your questions and let's have some fun together. This is for educational purposes only. This is not intended to be medical advice, so it should not be interpreted as medical advice. If you have a health condition, please seek out a healthcare provider. So Susan's going to take this away. I think it's really interesting. I was looking at Susan's background, and since 1982, you've been in practice. Is that correct?
I was actually at ACTCM in 1982. So that's when I started studying Chinese medicine. I got my license in 85, January of 85. And, but I started building my practice in 82. So yeah, something like that. And at some point you quit counting, right?
Right, I did, yes.
30 plus, it's been 30 plus.
And always, has it always, so we want you to do the what, when, and why, and has it always been Master Dong for you then? Has it pretty much been that way?
Well, I went to ACTCM and had to study academic, stuff and cram just like everybody else, and you all did. So, but I was fortunate enough to find Dr. Miriam Lee, and she was the first licensed acupuncturist in the state of California. So that's kind of significant because California leads the nation in Chinese medicine. And so, it's kind of West Coast and East Coast and starting to fill in the middle. But in the middle, there's still lots of states that don't recognize acupuncture. So anyhow, Miriam was a real pioneer in the field of not only Chinese medicine in California, and licensure. In fact, she got us licensure after being thrown in jail for practicing without a license. That's how instrumental Miriam was. So for me, I was very fortunate to study with Miriam for about 12 years. And she brought Dong's points to my attention, and then also brought Dr. Yang-Wei Chia to the United States. And he started to teach us Dong's acupuncture. So I kind of had two teachers of this system. And it's not that I don't ever do anything else. I do scalp, I do ear, I do choreo hand therapy a little bit. I do lots of herbs, almost every patient, I'd say 98% take herbs as well. So, and that's not a big part of Dong acupuncture, but in terms of the acupuncture itself, yeah, I'm pretty much Dong. I mean, I'm 90%, let's say, 90% Dong.
And so I want you to share with us the what, the when, and the why. And I think the first thing is the pronunciation, because I used to pronounce it Tong, because that's how I saw it. And then I say Dong, and now I'm hearing you say Dong?
Dong, like ding dong.
Ding dong. Okay.
Ding dong.
So now we're learning how to pronounce it. So it's
yeah,
Dong.
And I just love it if everybody would try to remember that. Even my sister, who facilitates my seminars, it has a hard time remembering that it's Dong, not Tong, because it looks like Tong. But somewhere early on, Dr. Yang, Miriam and I decided, well, I kind of decided, and she went along with it, that we should spell Dong Tongs because that's what it sounds like. And not too long after we'd been sort of using that, Dr. Yang, who is really the leading expert on Dong's acupuncture in the world, probably, I would say. Some might disagree, but not many who know anyway. He asked us to change it back to TUNG'S, or TUNG, Dong. There's no S. It's Dong's acupuncture, plural, but it's Dong, Master Dong Ching Chang. And that was kind of a bummer because ever since everybody says Tong or Tong or anything but Dong. Everybody says everything but Dong. So it's Dong. It's like the Tao, the Dong. In fact, Master Dong was a Taoist. So if you think about Taoism and say Taoist Dong, you'll get it right. So anyway, thanks for doing that because it's propagated as Tong way too much. Minor point.
And I know you have so much material and you're a prolific writer and a teacher. So getting you to do this in a short period of time about Dong is hard because you can just go on. So let's start with because I'm new to the Dong method. I've heard of it. And I remember Raven telling me about, I think it was Fuku, or there's some point on the thumb. She was telling me, will it revolutionize your, I guess, what is it, the system? And why do you think it revolutionizes people's practice? You obviously have been doing it and you've been teaching people. So are people getting miraculous results? And what is this system that I'm just learning about?
Yeah, absolutely. People are getting fabulous results. I'll tell you right off the bat that I don't need anybody's faith. Honest to God, I don't need your faith. I need you to check it out. I need you to try it out because it will prove itself to you. I don't need to do that. But I can tell you that ever since I started using Dong's points, I hardly use anything else. I do love a little scalp. I do love some ear sometimes, and I do choreo hand therapy on myself because it's hard to needle yourself. But Dong's points, well, what they are is a very old, ancient wisdom, Taoist form of Chinese medicine. Dr. Paulden Carson also is a teacher of Dong's acupuncture out of Toronto, Canada. He says that the system is 1,500 years old, that he can track it 1,500 years. Now, I don't know if that's actually the case. It's actually the case that he says that. I know that we can easily track it 300 years. I also know that one of my best friends, Dr. Huang Ta, who died almost a year ago, March 15th, a year ago, he died, and that was a huge loss to me personally and also to the world. He used to travel in the mountains of Vietnam and Cambodia and Laos, and he found Dong's acupuncture being practiced there by the mountain people with different names, but the very same points. So what I do know, what I can verify, is this is a very old system. It predates the Wang Di Ne Jing. Okay, and actually, I'm debating actually doing a whole class on acupuncture and Taoism, because I feel like really at most acupuncturists, I'd say probably 80% of you guys don't really know the history of your own medicine. If you're not really clear about the role of Taoism in Chinese medicine, I need to teach that class, because I would just love that. It's the root of what you do, whether you know it or not, whether you know Dong's points or not. It's the root of even Maoist communist Chinese medicine, which is the watered down version that we are now taught in acupuncture, academic acupuncture. So Dong's points predates all of that. And what it is a system that has been handed down for many, many generations to the men, right? Because the women would marry and take it out of the family. So this is one of those traditional Chinese medicine stories where the boys were taught and the girls were not, until the Cultural Revolution in China. And that's when they were burning the books and imprisoning the scholars, and Master Dong fled the mainland, went to Taiwan, and started teaching Dong's points outside of the family system for the first time. So as tragic as that time was, it was also an incredible opening for Dong's acupuncture worldwide, right? Because the world had an opportunity at that point. He taught, so there's many more Dong acupuncturists actually in Taiwan than in Shandong, where he came from. He was from northern China, Shandong, China. They call them Shandong Dong. Miriam Lee was also from Shandong. In 1987, she and I took our first trip to China to visit Dr. Huang Suzhen, who was also from Shandong. So she and Miriam hit it off like two peas in a pod. And I learned bleeding techniques. That's what we went to study, was bleeding techniques. So some of you go, ew, but that's only because you don't have any experience with that. Unfortunately, bleeding is not taught in academic settings. Well, maybe a little pricking, 7-star hammer, this or that, or a tiny lung 11, large intestine 1, something like that kind of bleeding. But I'm really talking about Wei Zong UB40, stomach 36 area, maybe not stomach 36, stomach 39, 40, something like that, gallbladder channel. So this kind of bleeding is part of Dong's acupuncture as well. So we went to China in 87 to study bleeding techniques, because even if you don't want to do it, you should understand why it's important and how amazing it can be. But the needles themselves are amazing without the bleeding, and also immediately effective. So the what is a really remarkable ancestral system of acupuncture that uses points that are immediately effective. I mean, effective while the patient is on the table getting their treatment, and usually within about 30 seconds of insertion. That's how amazing. Like, that's incredible, right? Some people will tell their patients, well, I expect to get, you should see a difference within 10 treatments. Well, for me, if I don't get a difference within the first one, or maybe 2, I know that I'm not on the right track. I'm not thinking clearly. There's a problem here. So once you know these points, and the other, really wonderful claim to fame on Dong's acupuncture is that it's super easy to learn. This is not a difficult system. And I know that, I myself and probably most of you struggled through acupuncture school, memorizing stuff and cram, just like, you know, any other, yeah, lots of nodding heads. Yeah, it was rough. And I added commuting from Ben Lomond, which is Santa Cruz Mountains, to San Francisco, which is an hour and a half each way on top of that. So back in those days, I was 20, well, I was 23 when I started acupuncture school. And because the commute was so long, I used to sleep in my Volkswagen Bug on the streets of San Francisco because commuting back and forth was just ridiculous. But, you know, I wouldn't advise that these days. But anyhow, yeah, in the early part of my acupuncture training, I found Miriam Lee and I found Dong's acupuncture, and I never looked back. So I can tell you that, well, that's kind of as much as I need to say about what it is. It's an amazing system that if you don't know it, you will never regret the time you put into learning it. It's easy to learn. It's highly effective. Right away, you're going to know right away if you're thinking clearly or not. Not whether the points work. You're going to figure that out quite quickly, that the points work. They work right away. But it might take you a minute to really become efficient at choosing which points to use for which situation. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that. I'll tell you a whole lot more about that if you come to the Best of Dong's Acupuncture class, Best of Dong's Magic Points. I call them magic. Some people don't like that because they think it trivializes our medicine. But in truth, boy, these points really, they act like magic. I mean, somebody's in excruciating pain and within 10 minutes, you've got that handled or 50% better. You know, that, like, you know, it's kind of magical how it works. It's not fanciful how it works. Okay, every point is connected to a pathway or a collateral. It's not fairy tale how it works, but it's pretty profound. And so that's the piece I want you to know, that if you haven't already studied it, it's well worth your time and energy, even if you only learn a handful of points. I mean, I could just teach you wood anger, these points on the index finger, and that would be worth whatever amount of time and energy and money you spent on learning those points, because those are in my top 5. Those are probably in my top 5, those are number 1. These are the $1 million points. Because if I had a nickel for every time they've come in handy, I'd be a millionaire. These are amazing points. But you want to learn how to do them well, because there's blood vessels there. And if you're doing palmar surface points and you hit blood vessels, it's going to hurt and your patients aren't going to want you to do them. So I have to teach you how to look really carefully so that you avoid blood vessels. Unless, of course, you're bleeding, and then you don't want to avoid them. You want to hit them right on. If you don't hit them and you're using a bleeding needle, that hurts. Not hitting a blood vessel with a bleeding needle hurts. Hitting a blood vessel with a bleeding needle does not hurt. And now I'm talking hypodermic needle tips for most of you, because that's what you can get. But anyway, I'm jumping the gun here. So let's jump back.